generation, I have launched two new initiatives. One is a joint venture with the Kaplan company called the Sustainability Institute. And Gary, wave your hand back there, Gary, is sitting back there. He can tell you more about it. But the Sustainability Institute is a online education program that is designed to teach companies about sustainability from a holistic systems perspective, which is not usually the way business thinks about sustainability. I've also recently started something called the American Sustainable Business Council, which is an effort to bring a perspective of sustainability to policy, particularly representing small and medium-sized businesses. And it's probably fair to say that a lot of the reason why we created this was to provide an alternative business voice to the national chamber, not the local chamber, but the National Chamber of Commerce, that I would be hard-pressed to describe as using systems or sustainability thinking in the way they develop policy. So what's sort of interesting about this group is probably all the things that I care about would be appropriate to discuss with you today, but we don't have time for me to touch on all of them. So I'm gonna focus a little bit on what I perceive as the present state of the sustainability movement in the business community, or you could describe it as the corporate responsibility movement. I think the first thing that you might say is that the language is miserably confused, and while when I think about what business needs to do, I might use corporate responsibility or sustainability somewhat interchangeably. There is a sadly insufficient understanding in the corporate world of what either one of those mean. And the way I would characterize the present state, and this is also a little bit about why I wrote The Responsibility Revolution, was that I was, as people have expressed, the business world is moving far too slowly. So aside from the fact that they don't necessarily understand what they need to do to become a positive influence from a sustainability perspective, the movement so far has been very, very incremental. That doesn't mean lots of good things aren't happening, because lots of good things are happening, but relative to the challenges we face, these positive movements are very, very small and very, very slow. And I would apply that to even my own company, Seventh Generation, which is doing a lot of good things, but most of the good things that we're doing is I would describe being less bad. And we have fundamentally confused being good with being less bad. 99% of what I see as being described as good products, good programs, are often about slowing the negative trajectory of something that is happening. And that's particularly true in the world I live in consumer products. So there's a water bottle that has recycled content, and this is a good product. Well, no, it's not a good product. It's a less bad product, but it's not a good product. And one of the things that I worry the most, and it's certainly comforting to be in the midst of so many educators, is that in many respects, I would describe some of the root problems that we face are problems of our own thinking and our own consciousness and our own understanding. If we define the challenge we face inaccurately, then we will pursue the wrong solutions. And generally speaking, that's what I see happening in much of the business world. That is aggravated by despite many of the standards that were listed up here before, whether they're the UN standard or any other standard, when it comes to businesses describing themselves as being sustainable or responsible, there are no standards. If you were all the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and I asked you to raise your hand if you're running a responsible and sustainable business, how many hands would go up? 500 hands. And thus you would have 500 different definitions of what sustainability and corporate responsibility is. And again, that is at the root of the challenges we face. In many cases, what passes for sustainability, and I'll use these words interchangeably so I don't have to keep repeating both of them, are highly compartmentalized programmatic initiatives. At their worst, they're chemical companies who make carcinogenic chemicals who believe that they are responsible because they give money away to cancer research. And thus, rather than recognizing that the business is in fact creating a problem, the way they deal with it is by trying to give money away to deal with the unintended consequences, because I believe that there are unintended consequences of the products that they sell. And again, that describes some of the challenges that we face. Now, I used to never say that I was a cynical person. I must say the past year has been trying for me because I felt so optimistic when we elected a new administration and so hopeful that we were going to see a dramatic acceleration of a different type of change, and that was naive. It was naive to think that any one person or any one group of people could rapidly make change in what is many, many decades of accumulated challenges. When I think about, if I could wave, well, actually, maybe I'll ask you this question, but this is probably too bright an audience to get the wrong answers I usually get, but what? No, God, no. It's depressing to get all the wrong answers. But I often ask a question, which is, if I gave you all a magic wand and you could wave it across the world and make any change come about, what change would you bring about? You get answers like end hunger, end poverty, end war, and those are, of course, wonderful things. But if you are trained in systems thinking, what you understand is that those are symptoms of problems, not the root of the problem. And when I think about the root of the problem, and when I put the wand in my own hand and have the opportunity to wave it across the world, I would again wish for something that has been discussed, although perhaps not in great depth, but Arturo was talking about the disconnect between the way countries handle their natural resources, and that the way in which they do that would not be allowed in corporate accounting. Well, if you take that to its logical extension and extreme, we live in a world where everything is mispriced, whether it's we ate for lunch, whether it's the clothes that you wear, whether it's the water that you drink. We have created a system that has institutionalized the ability for business to externalize their costs. And as a result, we as consumers become very confused because often bad things are cheap and good things are expensive. We live in a world often where the opposite signals that we want to give